It's no longer enough to just take great photos. You need to tell stories. You need content, reels, YouTube. And honestly, as a photographer, that hit me hard. Suddenly, photography alone didn't feel like a finished product anymore. It felt like just the beginning of a much bigger expectation. So, when I got the chance to shoot my Hasselblad Masters project, I committed hard. I spent almost my entire $5,000 budget to hire a filmmaker and a second photographer to follow me on my journey through the Alps. But here's what no one tells you. When you're in the mountains, chasing the light, exhausted, cold, focused on getting that one perfect shot, having a video production at the same time, it changes everything. Hey, I'm Albrecht Voss, architectural photographer and Hasselblad master. This series takes you behind the scenes of how I created Enlighten, a fine art project shot in the Alps using a prototype of the Hasselblad X2D. Time was flying. We were already 6 days into the shoot in the Alps, and it was time for change. My good friend Markus had to go back to Germany, and in his place, 2 new team members joined me. Matthias, an experienced sports photographer, and Daniel, the head of a video production company. I collaborated with both of them on various shoots over the past decade. But this time was different, because suddenly I was the subject of the production. The moment we arrived at our next location in Sölden, Austria, I felt the energy shift immediately. Normally it's just me packing up my gear and heading into the mountains. Now it was 3 creatives unloading gear from our cars, searching batteries, deciding on lenses, grabbing coffee. Suddenly, just getting started took us 2 hours instead of a couple of minutes. Between a Canon full-frame kit, the Hasselblad medium format system, a DJI Ronin 4D, 2 Mavic drones and a full slider setup, we took over the gondola heading up to 3,000 meters at the Kugel. Waiting for us up there were not 1, but 2 buildings I planned to shoot. The iceQ restaurant by Obermoser Architects, famous for its appearance as a futuristic clinic in the James Bond film Spectre, and the 007 Elements Museum, built after the movie as a permanent exhibition dedicated to James Bond. Once we got to the top, we immediately entered rage mode. Both buildings would close in 2 hours. In that time, I wanted to shoot interiors, capture behind-the-scenes video, and prepare for my Enlighten night compositions. But everything was moving at triple speed. Coordinating with staff, searching for the best angles, dodging tourists, and I hadn't eaten since breakfast. On top of that, both the filmmaker and photographer were full of ideas. Can you just stand here real quick? Wait, hold that shot again for a second. Meanwhile, I was standing in front of a location I had planning to photograph for almost a year. It was beautiful, it was overwhelming, but I didn't have a second to breathe. I had just overloaded my schedule. While I was shooting the interiors for the building, I quickly realized how much a behind-the-scenes production changes my usual rhythm. So I made a call. I stopped my own interior shots to give Matthias and Daniel the time and freedom they needed to create stronger material. Once the last employees left on the gondola, we rolled out our sleeping pads on the floor of the tourism info point and enjoyed the calm of an empty mountaintop. Daniel and Matthias were slowly getting in sync, filming and photographing in parallel, while I set up the motion control system 5 times from scratch. I had to come to terms with the fact that I wouldn't be creating a jaw-dropping image of my own in that moment. My job was simply to look professional and excited as I set up a tripod and programmed a motorized head. When the last ray of sun vanished behind the Alpine peaks, we transitioned straight into the next phase, shooting for the Hasselblad Masters series. This time, photography was priority number one again. Daniel and Matthias worked around me as I set up my tripods and captured 3 strong pictures for the Enlightened series. At night, the iceQ restaurant, which reflects the landscape during the day, becomes entirely transparent, resulting in a glowing architectural structure that reveals its glass skeleton in beautiful detail. The 100 megapixel resolution from the Hasselblad X2D makes every line and surface shine. If you're enjoying this video, hit that like button. It really helps me keep creating more content like this for you. And if you don't want to miss the next episode, where I take you to the Edelrauthütte and share my top tips for capturing epic astrophotography with a Hasselblad, make sure to subscribe now. The second image of the night was taken from above the James Bond Elements Museum, looking down into the dark valley below. The cement facade and surrounding rocks were lit by a drone carrying an LED light, painting the scene during a 13-second-long exposure on the X2D. And finally, we saved the hero shot for last, an image of the museum jutting out from the rugged, moon-like terrain, its glowing eye gazing down into the valley, a symbol of modern architecture holding its ground in a hostile, unforgiving environment. We tested the full range of Daniel's DJI Mavic 3 Cine, lighting not just the museum, but the entire adjacent ridge. To enlighten the interior of the museum, I placed my Aperture MC LED light with a power bank inside the museum in the afternoon. That way, the massive glass panel would glow at night. Turns out, just 20% brightness on that tiny light was enough to create a fully illuminated space in the middle of the night. The final image of the James Bond Elements Museum is one of my favorites for the entire Hasselblad series. And as a standalone, I love it in that ultra-wide Hasselblad X-Pan crop. That's the beauty of working with 100 megapixels. You've always got options. Even during the night, we had to adjust. Snoring and altitude insomnia kept more than one of us awake. After a few hours of not so restful sleep, we were greeted by an absolutely blazing sky. For a few short minutes, the clouds above the Geislachkogel looked like they were on fire, casting a deep red glow across the mountaintop. Luckily, I already knew from the day before which compositions worked best for the iceQ and James Bond Elements Museum. So I was able to capture 2 powerful images in just a short window of time. And both of them ended up in the fine art section of my website shop. The team was up and moving fast. Everyone was filming and photographing at the same time. And this time, with great coordination and mutual respect. I had captured my sunrise shots and was back in front of the camera, endlessly running up and down the mountain, swapping lenses again and again, staring dramatically into the distance, and doing it all without looking half frozen or dead tired. These last 24 hours were an intense, eye-opening experience. So if you're thinking about working with a small behind-the-scenes team on a photo shoot, here are my 5 takeaways. First, let go of the idea of getting 20 great photos during that time. Focus on just a handful of images and give yourself and your crew the time to build a visual story, document the setup, and create additional content around the location. Second, plan at least 2 to 3 hours between locations for gear swaps, backups, food, and just catching your breath. Third, get everyone on the same page. Create a shared shot list with example frames and sponsor content requirements. We use Milanote for this project, so the whole team had access to every part of the production plan. Make a detailed schedule, and then double the time estimates for every single item on that list. Team productions just take a lot more time than you think. And the fifth and last tip, start small. If it's your first time working with a crew, don't begin with a 10-day shoot abroad. Stick to one-day productions near home, get to know each other's rhythm, and only scale once you're confident you'll work well together. If you want to level up your workflow or advance your images, join me for one of my upcoming photography workshops in southern Spain. They are happening this September and November, and we'll be exploring some of the most stunning locations in Andalusia. If you missed the last episode, where I show you how to isolate your subject in a crowded location, make sure to check that one out next. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you create behind-the-scenes content for your photo shoots? Do you shoot it yourself with an assistant or a full team? Drop your experiences in the comments. I'd love to hear what's worked for you and what hasn't. Until then, have fun shooting and see you next time.